Welcome. Happy Saturday.
I was just going to say you're listening to Jama
and Nikki. It was a pause
and we
there.
have a special guest joining us today.
We do. That special guest is Isaac Sandidge. And he trained me in mental health first aid, my very first mental health first aid class.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you've taught so many. How can you recall them all? Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're here today to talk about something that it feels like every conversation that Nikki and I have lately, some element of mental health comes into it. Whether we're talking about family dynamics,
hormones,
workplace
scenarios.
Yes.
Mommying.
Yes, 100%. How to remain mentally well.
Starting our own business.
Yes.
Which is mental health. How do you balance and not get discouraged and be focused on your goal?
Overall wellness, life choices, how to make positive ones whenever possible, how to positively affect others. It feels like every conversation, some element has to do with mental health. And so we wanted to bring in someone who's much more of an expert than we are, which is Isaac, because he actually teaches other people.
He's the adult to your adult.
He is.
It sounds like I have a lot to learn from you two myself. So.
Thank you.
But I know it's, I don't want to say an epidemic, but I have heard that I just feel like we are so much more conscious and conscientious when it comes to mental health issues. I hope that's in part to us educating ourselves and educating others and just being more aware and giving grace. We talk about that
and
frequently.
Grace for ourselves.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. And allowing each other to feel our feels and knowing when someone is in crisis and needs professional assistance and how we can react the way that we would want someone else to react when we're in those situations. So we're here to talk about that today.
Yeah. So Isaac, you are a mental health first aid professional. Is that what you would describe yourself, a trainer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would. I train other people on how to recognize when somebody needs some support. And I give them the skills, or I hope I give them the skills to be able to be there, be present with that individual, get them connected with some sort of appropriate care, whether that be professional help or other people who can support them and or just help them through their rough day. So what I love about my particular program is that we don't train people how to be those professionals or those counselors or those therapists, because we can't all be that.
Right.
Instead, what we do is we teach people some basic skills to be able to be there and support them. So I think it's a lot like a CPR first aid class. They don't train you how to be a surgeon,
an EMT,
a
surgeon. That's
yeah.
Or you don't do open heart surgery. At least I did. I fell asleep or something during my CPR training. But instead, how to support somebody in that moment,
right.
And get them connected to more appropriate care, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So,
and how did you step into this role? How did this come about?
I was voluntold, actually. I was working over at Centerstone. It was Wellspring Resources at the time. And I was approached by our COO and asked to step into this training role because I feel like I'm pretty good at training people things. So I did a lot of training for them. And I'd never heard of it before. So I did a little bit of research. And I was kind of looking into it. I was like, what is this mental health first aid stuff? They sent me to Indianapolis for 5 days for the Train the Trainer program, or the instructor training program. And I had no idea what it was. I went in there and I remember sitting there on the very first day and people were asking, are you trained in this program? And I was like, I no, am I supposed to be? I was freaking out because I was like, was I supposed to do this? I don't know.
And they're like, you're leading this class today, right?
I didn't do anything.
That's like the dreams I have, that I'm in college and I have to do a monologue or be in a play, but no one's given me a script.
Right.
And I'm standing there going, I wasn't prepared for this. And you should have been that is my nightmare dreams.
It was awful. It was terrible. But I mean, I was sitting there and then finally we started and we went through the first day. And I remember thinking to myself, where has this been? Everybody needs to do this. This is the most amazing thing. I was a professional in the field. I was a director of case management, housing supports, all kinds of different things. And it's like, this is what we really need in our community. By the end of the 5th day, I was absolutely hooked and sold. I was like, this is what, if there's some way that I can make a living doing this, this is like my dream job, to be doing this, to teaching other individuals. And so it took me about 5 years to really get up and running with it and get that program, like get people into classes, get classes up and running and training. And I eventually did get a full-time job doing this. I work for the Missouri Institute of Mental Health. Actually, I work for Mental Health First Aid Missouri, really focusing on these efforts all across the state of Missouri. So I was able to get that dream job where I get paid to do this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, pretty excited about it. Actually, my wife found the job for me, and so I'm super thankful for her because like this is what I always wanted to do. So ever since I was first exposed to it.
Yeah, big shout out to Christina, who we went to school with all of you, which is really cool. So that's that connection. We talk about degrees of us. And then Christina was looking at the junior league for a little while. And that's when we connected and kind of learned a little bit more about mental health first aid, and just really exciting to have those connections. And I know she's home with all the kiddos.
She is.
Super mommying it out. And so we just want to say, hey, Christina, we appreciate you and thank you for.
We'll get her on one day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's much better at this stuff than I am. She's actually an instructor in the program now too.
Yes,
so
she
she's
was
since
telling me
been
that.
trained. So
I ran into her at a pool party
good.
recently.
Yeah, fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I skipped out of that pool party for my own mental health. I was like, I just need to step away and have some. I live in a house full of all girls, and it's a very small house, and so it's like the thought of having the house to myself and I could watch whatever TV shows I want and just sit and relax and quiet was amazing.
Appealing.
That was your pool
That
party.
was my pool party.
Yeah.
Well, and I know we have spoken many times about, I feel like self-care gets kind of it gets a negative connotation, unfortunately, sometimes, but it can be so important to check in with yourself and recognize, like, I am exerting myself in so many other ways. Like, it's okay to take a break and sit down and relax.
Well, and I think self-care gets like rolled into YOLO. And it's like, well, you only live once, go out and have fun and do whatever you want. But that's not necessarily self-care. If you're YOLOing.
And not for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, we all function differently. And I know, like my partner is more of an introvert. And I have become more of an introvert, probably thanks to COVID and not being able to talk to as many people. So when you go out, like, I get energy from other people, right? And like you said, you get excited and passionate about something. You just want to talk to other people and share that wisdom. And then now I get home and I'm like, sleep. Like, it's
recharge.
Yes.
And what I had just recently read a study, and I don't remember where the study was, but it was information that I was gathering that psychologists do believe that 90% of our well-being is in community with others. There's so much that we get, including chemicals that we smell that are good for our survival and for our understanding, like the bacteria, the pheromones, whatever you want to. Remember pheromone perfume? Like you would put that on. There was pheromone perfume in the 90s. But that's because it's a thing. It really is a thing. Being around each other, regulate your heartbeats, regulate each other, hugs regulate each other. So that's all important. And I think everyone has a battery. And if you're always running your battery at full, so I am an extrovert, but at the same time, I can over people. Because I need time to be with me. So you need that inner reflection. You need that time to go sit and be alone because you need to sit with your thoughts. You've just experienced all these things. And if you never take that time, it's still going to run. And then that's where you get ran out. And then if I'm introverted for too long, I might not shower. Like I might not take care of myself. I might not eat. I might not talk to anyone for weeks.
Your basic functioning becomes a struggle.
Yeah, because I've been at home on the couch and no one's regulating me at that point. So I have to hang out in the middle sometimes.
And if you're someone who does struggle with depression, anxiety, social anxiety, especially, there's all these things that are affecting you that you may not be recognizing or know how to self-regulate. And so I think it's so important for resources like yours to be out there so that people can seek them because, there is so much information, but you want to make sure you're getting the right information and what's going to work for you. So tell us a little bit about the organization that you started, So that's the mental health first aid of Illinois.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I work with Mental Health First Aid Missouri, which was a founding partner that helped bring the whole program to the United States. But as instructors, we can train anywhere in the United States, or its territories, or sovereign nations within the contiguous U.S., or on military bases.
Wow.
So it's like, well, I do all this over in Missouri. We need to have some more of this over here in Illinois. And
spread the word.
Yeah, spread the word. So in my off time, I do a lot of those trainings and bring together instructors across Illinois to provide some of those services, provide those trainings to folks, residents here in the state, as well as outside the state as well. But so we do a lot of those trainings just with big organizations, small groups, all across the state, whether it be up in Chicago, all the way down to, right outside of Kentucky, like Metropolis, Carbondale, somewhere around there, and everywhere in between. So we do a lot of those trainings all over the place across the state. So.
Whoever asks, right?
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you guys work with large companies.
We do.
As well as like small independent nonprofits, things like that, right? So
yeah, we've trained different health departments across the state. We've trained larger corporations, examples like Barilla USA, the pasta company, Becker's International, which is an international paint manufacturing group based here in Illinois. We've done the Greene County Health Departments. We've done some study abroad programs. We have a group that we've been working with. It's a marijuana manufacturer and distributor. We're talking about their third year of classes. We've done classes for them on an annual basis now for the last 3 or 4 years. And so we've got some people that come back and just can continue to train their staff or recertify in the program. And so we do a lot of groups. We also do a lot like small church groups. We've done a couple of those. We work with the overnight warming locations pretty regularly on an annual basis. A lot of nonprofit organizations that we support across the state as well. So.
And if you look on the screen, for those of you who are able to see the video, I know sometimes our podcast shows up in audio only. We are showing the Mental Health First Aid Illinois website here, so you can learn a little bit more about it. And there will be contact information at the bottom to get a hold of Isaac's team. It's a 1-800 number, correct?
It's a 309
number.
It's based out of
It's not like a 618 or something.
No.
So
yeah, that rings directly to us.
You'll still get local access. And I'm sure, are you able then, if someone calls from, one of the 30 counties, you have stations in each place to get to someone or help them?
Yeah, we have a network of instructors kind of all across the state as well. So my wife and I are primarily the primary instructors, but we work with instructors all just scattered all throughout the state and outside as well. I have a lot of instructor friends that are all across the country. So if, for example, we went up to Wisconsin last February and did a youth mental health first aid course for a youth safety summit with the University of Wisconsin, Whittaker. Starts with a W. I don't remember. I think it's Whittaker. But we did that up there. We partnered with some additional instructors. So we have a network of instructors that we work with also. So
I was just looking because I saw you had it essentially categorized adult separated from youth. And I was thinking that to myself too. Like we talked about, when you're in your teenage years, things are different. Life is in a different perspective for you than maybe when you're in different stages of your life. So I think that's really interesting that you separate out that it looks like 12 to 18. So is that different content coverage?
It is.
Different focus? Okay.
So we have 3 primary programs in mental health first aid. So there's the adult mental health first aid. So adults, how to support other adults. And then we have the youth mental health first aid program, which is for adults that work with young folks, usually around aged 11 to 17. Because that looks different, as you just mentioned, Jama. I mean, recognizing what is typical adolescent development versus what's more concerning. And so we teach adults how to support them. And then we also have another program that's not up on our website, which is called Teen Mental Health First Aid, which is designed to teach adolescents, 9th through 12th graders, how to be those supports to each other. And so it equips our young folks with the skills to be able to support each other and get them connected either to a trusted adult or appropriate care if one of their friends may be struggling.
I just recently read a statistic from 2023 that the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to I think 34 is suicide. 10 years old to 34, the second leading cause of death.
That's been pretty consistent too over several, at least the last decade.
Yeah. And so that's why recognizing someone in a crisis. So, I was thinking about this morning. I had actually read a horse rescue story and it led me to think about people rescue, and mental health. You can't always tell someone is stuck. Like if someone's in a burning building, to call 911. If someone is in, trapped in underground, to call 911. If someone's in a mental health crisis, you might not even see it.
Right.
So the hardest part is they might not even yell for help. So learning to recognize those signs, then you can say, hey, how are you? Ask them those questions, the follow-up questions of suicide. Have you thought about hurting yourself? If you hear them say they want to hurt themselves, these are things that help you get around that. Recently read a story about, I think a lot of who've maybe gone into mental health. His last name is Hurst, I believe. He jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge and survived. Kevin Hines. I knew there was an H in there. I apologize. Yeah. Kevin Hines, his story, I was walking across the bridge and if someone would have just said hi to me or asked me how I was doing, or I just needed someone to talk to.
To interrupt those thoughts.
Interrupt, because that is a state, a manic state that someone's in. And sometimes you need help breaking that state because you cannot break itself. So it's been helpful even learning mental health first aid so you can be that person when someone's in a crisis and go, are you okay? That's I've even had times where I've been walking in a Schnucks parking lot. Someone came out very upset, very unwell. I became their fixation because they were in that heightened state. I don't know what happened in Schnucks or whatever they were going through at that moment, but you can become their fixation. They might take it out on something before, but then they see you. And then I was like, are you okay? And that, yeah, I'm fine. Well, I'm not. Can you pray for me? Like those were just things to kind of get, that was all I knew at the time. But at least I had your training enough to know it's not about me.
Right.
I'm a bystander, but this person's not well. Right. And I could recognize that they weren't well. And so there is that understanding what a crisis looks like because we might not know that someone actually needs help. And I think your training does that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, we see these kind of posted on social media all the time. Like, reach out to me if you're feeling down. Like, I'm always here for you. I'd rather, spend 10 minutes on the phone than visit, go to your funeral and those kind of things. And that puts the onus on the person needing support to ask for help.
And that sometimes can be the hardest thing.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, we may not even know, or we may not have that energy to reach out and ask, or we feel like a burden maybe to reach out to somebody else. And so when other folks are able to recognize when someone's not doing well and to take that first step, that can be a huge difference, because the research shows that someone is more likely to seek help if someone close to them suggests it. Like, that's directly from the research. So just by suggesting that someone reach out, we know that our close circles are more likely to take that next step and to maybe initiate and start that recovery journey for them.
That's amazing. Yeah. Those statistics are quite frightening.
And it's the 8th cause in the world, suicide, just to go back to some of those statistics, and 11th nationwide cause of death is suicide. I mean, amongst all ages.
It's a big deal.
It's an issue. Yeah. And so we have those resources and being trained to ask someone or talk to someone about it. I know growing up is you never were supposed to talk about it.
It was so passé. That's
and no one even, there was all the stigma because mental health back in the day, it was lobotomies and electric shock therapy.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
Horrible things on how,
because we didn't know. I think that's
didn't know, and I think there was one specific doctor that somehow got into lobotomies, and everyone let him run with it, and that probably should have had some.
It worked. It took care of the behavioral issues. But it also completely destroyed that person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they couldn't function anymore. So it was just interesting how those stigmas get. Well, even women with hormones, you're just crazy. You've got a problem. You've got an issue. It's just your hormones. Well, there's a reason. There might be an imbalance or something that's or traumas or things like that we need to dig into deeper. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be back with Isaac to discuss some more mental health challenges. I have a couple questions for you. and ways we can help walk through it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Perfect.
We'll be right back.
Firearms training shouldn't feel intimidating. At Precision Point Armory in Bethalto, we focus on safety, confidence, and real-world skills. Whether you're new or renewing your concealed carry, you'll get professional instruction without pressure. Learn safe handling, sound decision-making, and proper techniques tailored to your experience level. If you're looking for premium firearms training in the heart of Bethalto, Illinois, call 618-779-9947 or go to precisionpointarmory.net and train with confidence today.
Struggling with depression that just won't go away? At Precision TMS, we offer a non-invasive, drug-free treatment designed to target the areas of the brain linked to mood regulation. Using FDA-cleared transcranial magnetic stimulation, gentle magnetic pulses help reactivate underperforming brain circuits without surgery or sedation. Many patients experience real relief, even after other treatments haven't worked. Our experienced team provides personalized care every step of the way. Contact Precision TMS today to see if TMS therapy is right for you.
Accidents happen in a heartbeat, but lives change forever. Whether it's a car crash, workplace injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you don't have to face the consequences alone. Keith Short and Associates brings over 33 years of experience and a reputation for fighting fiercely for your rights. For relentless representation that you can trust, call Keith Short and Associates at 618-254-0055 today for a free consultation.
What's up? It's Mike Keith. What's up, bro? Back to spotlight other amazing alumni and how they discovered their path at Lewis and Clark. Let's jump into it. This is Tom Wells, an assistant chief of the Godfrey Fire District. He has been a firefighter and an EMT for over 20 years. Tom is currently an instructor in the Lewis and Clark paramedicine program and has 2 degrees from LC, fire science and nursing. I'm Tom.
We're back. You're listening to According to
Jama
and Nikki, and we're here with Isaac Sandidge, who is the founder of Mental Health First Aid Illinois, and we're talking about all things that we can about mental health, all of the hats that we wear, the ways that we can help each other, and how we can help others. Yeah,
exactly. So right before we went to break, we were kind of leading into the statistics, which is a hard word for me to say.
Statistics.
Stats. We'll say
Stats.
There you go. I like it.
Stats.
And how, alarming some of those are, and how we think there's been a cultural shift. I really have felt that in the last few decades. And I don't know, you tell us, do you think it's more related to improved research, accessibility to help and resources like yours, better understanding of the various degrees of mental wellness, open discussions? You kind of mentioned the next gens that are making this a very visible topic.
Well, I would love to claim those because of mental health first aid. I would love
right.
that. And maybe that's part of it.
It absolutely, I think, is.
But
an element.
I don't really know. I think it's probably a little bit of all of the above. I think we've kind of COVID 2020, COVID-19, that really opened a lot of our eyes to like things that weren't working. And one of the things that I think is a big play is we have this up and coming generation, these Gen Z folks, and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and they are really, really big about sharing experiences, supporting one another. And I just personally, I'm feeling hopeful about the future because they'll talk about it. Like you ask them how they are, they will open up. They will tell you, okay, let me tell you what's going on in my life instead of that standard, I'm fine, how are you? Sort of thing that we've kind of been socialized to do. And so I think that just that open dialogue that we have, kind of whether it be in social media, we're seeing big stars and big athletes open up about their experiences and their struggles. And it's really paving the way to just say, like, it's okay if you're not doing well, and to talk about it and to reach out and to let other people know. Because again, oftentimes folks don't. And so we might feel some of those stigmas and kind of like, maybe I shouldn't talk about this. But when we see these people that we respect, we see people that we know sharing their experiences, I think it creates that culture where like we can talk about these things, and that's all right.
It opens the door.
Yeah.
I feel like it allows you the opportunity to walk through, to discuss. And, You're right. You're right. I always think about the line from, I think it's from The Italian Job, and they're like, how are you? And they say, fine. Mm-hmm. Oh, so freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Yeah, that's what fine is.
That sums it up,
Right. And I think about that often when someone says that to me. I'm like, there's something deeper. And I think I'm hoping as part of your training that like when to push, but like when to ask more questions. And I would imagine that if you are seeing someone in crisis, most people would feel like they aren't equipped and they don't have the skills, or they don't want to get involved. They aren't sure how to assess the situation. Yeah. And I know this happens frequently with people in like the medical fields. When someone says, is there a doctor on the plane? It's like, well, what type of situation are we walking into? Did someone cut their finger, or are they having, like a full blown panic attack or something, So I always find that interesting that you need to walk in with some skills and some knowledge. And I think that's what you're offering to people is like, here are some baseline things to look for, almost like when we take, like you mentioned, like CPR classes, or when to recognize a stroke. It's when to know when someone is in that crisis. And I know so many more of our police officers and EMTs, are being trained in those areas as well. So I think it's super crucial.
Yeah. One of the things I love about it too is, mental health first aid is an evidence-based program, which means there's lots of research that show that it's effective. And one of the key things that we're always looking for is, does it build that confidence? And overwhelmingly it does. When people take the training, they feel more confident that they have tools to support someone, when they're experiencing a bad day, a mental health challenge, a substance use challenge, or a crisis. They feel confident, like, I can address this, I can help this person. Because I think a lot of times people really want to help, but they're afraid they're going to make it worse. And so they're like, I would rather not do anything. And so this helps kind of overcome that barrier and that hurdle, like giving somebody that confidence that, like, you know what, I know this is going to help. And so they will take that next step and reach out and provide whatever support they can in that moment.
I love to hear
that. And
I
think understanding like a mental health illness crisis moment, people are not their behaviors. And so I think you get this knowledge of knowing you can set aside the judgment, or we all have those what are those biasness that are inside that are just created by your unconscious biasness.
Like, what's wrong with
because
them, or
you've
something
experienced
in your head
something, and so now you think all people are that way, or you had a bad experience with someone, and so now you are afraid of all people that might have a beard or look like that someone, or whatever. Calling out Isaac with his beard, sorry, or something like that. Right. It's like, and so when you see the side of mental health, and it's like, oh, okay, mental health crisis. They're just not well in that moment. People are not their behaviors, and so I think that helps you approach someone.
It does.
People don't become scary. They're people. And it helps you put some of those judgments aside, and also take yourself out of the equation. Yeah. It's not about you. And so it does become harder when it's a family member, because you're connected to that person.
And you have strong biases.
And you have strong bias. You have strong knowledge. Sometimes I like to say you can't be part of the solution if you're part of the problem. It's not that you are the problem, but you might be part of the problem. So you go into it always talking to that loved one that way, because that's the way you were raised, talking to that loved one. And that's how we handled that loved one in their crisis moment. Handled them, right? That's what we were taught, right? Let's get them situated. Let's manage but truthfully, it's more of, I'm too close to this. I need to step back, because I need to find someone else for them, Yes, and it's not an insult to me or you or whoever. It's just, you're the reality. Part of this, you're part of that, and you stepping back can be part of that solution.
And it can be a big part of that solution too. Yeah. Like knowing when you're too close to it to really be effective in that moment, like having that sort of self-awareness and that compassion to say, I need to step out of this can be really helpful.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not easy. Right. And then you just, when you feel those feelings well up, it's like, ooh, I need to take a break. Yeah. Need to step back
for your own
wellness, because you could then go into and make decisions and do things that you wouldn't necessarily do if you were in the right mind, Absolutely. Or the well mind, or whatever we want to apply to
terminology.
Yeah. Would you say that the Owls was your first on the Illinois side, first mental health training, or had you trained prior to training the warming center?
That's a good question.
So Nikki's referring to
The
OWL, which is the
OWL.
overnight warming locations that
Yes.
Isaac is very involved in.
Well, I could talk about that for hours.
Well, and it used to be the warming center.
The overnight warming
Overnight
center.
warming centers of Alton, and then
Yeah.
it became locations, and so I believe that was our first interaction,
That was our first interaction.
and that seemed to be the first.
That was the first big one, I think.
Big one,
The
yeah.
first one here in Illinois. I did a lot of them over in Missouri at that point.
But in Illinois,
yeah.
and I think that was when it first started becoming more aware.
Yeah, I was green back then. I'm much better now. so.
I need to recertify. Like I think
All right, well,
mine. So we'll have to
class.
do another training.
Yeah, but I think so. I think it was probably one of the first ones that we did over here. And I mean, I had another one a couple of years before that in the state in Illinois, but that was. We did a training for the volunteers for the overnight warming locations during our first season when we first opened up.
And that was almost
Which
one of the
was-
conditions to let us open up, was that everyone needed to be mental health first aid trained, which was great. Then I think it also had a counter effect where people started thinking we were healthcare professionals. And then you started getting more and more situations that went beyond first aid.
Right.
And then it was like, okay,
Okay,
we're
need
not
some
that equipped
professionals here.
or we need to take them to a place where that's where a professional is, because that's not what we do. And then it became a lot more on the volunteers' responsibility than I could even manage. I was like, I probably need to take a break here.
Yeah, we've come a long way with the overnight warming locations. So in terms of like what volunteers do, what's expected of them, our partnerships with local healthcare providers, mental health providers, resources as well. So it's we've come quite a ways as the overnight warming locations, owls, overnight warming centers, whatever we go and go. It's the owls now. Right now.
It's the owls. Like your hat.
This is my hat.
It's your hat.
Yeah. I'm the city lead for the Alton overnight warming location, so I run the Alton site.
Oh, nice.
And one of the stipulations, one of the big pieces, the requirements of a lot of our volunteers, depending on their role, is that they are trained in mental health first aid. It's actually written into our policies and our procedures that we follow mental health first aid protocols when addressing challenges or mental health challenges or substance use challenges within the site. So
Because that also keeps you as the volunteer safe too.
it does. It keeps everyone
Because then
safe.
you learn, like, I appreciated the part of the training that said, if you feel unsafe, you are not obligated to help someone. And that's even in first aid. Like, if you can't safely reach the person that's needing rescue, then they don't want to rescue two people, right? So you have to keep yourself safe as well. And I think that was an important part of training, to know, when is it safe for me to approach this person, and when should I just get more help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And safety is always a big deal for any training. And that's always our first priority, is making sure that everyone involved is as safe as they possibly can be, whether the person providing that support, whether the person we're supporting, or others around us. So yeah, safety is a big deal.
Super critical. I know we have a couple of like junior league volunteers that also volunteer at Owls.
Oh, nice.
They talk about how there's different training for different positions, essentially. So if that's something that anyone out there is interested in, I know we're in not a cold weather
We're in the hot
season,
weather, hot and
but
rainy.
Yeah. So definitely reach out, right? Because
that does not mean that we're not working. We are actively
exactly.
right now, like scrambling, doing all kinds of work right now in the off season to prepare for the winter for the overnight warming locations.
Well, and I know Nikki and I had mentioned in Collinsville, we have cooling centers, which are, places that individuals can go if they are overheated. So kind of the opposite need. Is that something that we have in our area? I wasn't sure about the Alton area.
Do.
Okay.
Yeah, several organizations and businesses around here serve as cooling centers. I mean, one of the biggest ones, like the local libraries.
Right.
But we also have a really good partnership with RiverBend Family Ministries over in Wood River that always serves as that cooling center plus more. I mean, they have so many resources there for folks that don't have access to different whether that be homes or laundry or showers or supplies. They also provide those there as well. So that's another safe place. And it's right along a bus route too. So it's really easily accessible. So there's a lot of folks or a lot of places around here too that also serve as those cooling centers, but it's kind of a little bit weirder because you never really know like when it's going to be needed. And there's not like a lot of like stipulations on like, okay, if the weather is this degree, these cooling centers are going to be open, it's usually just sort of like a critical response by the communities.
Did they alert and open up? Whereas with, I feel like the owls, you have very specific criteria, right? And when it's go time, it's like all hands on deck and everyone is alerted, and you're using all of those resources to alert individuals. So I think it's a really amazing thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And there's other ways I imagine you have other roles, like there's food preparation, there's helping with resources. So if you're someone who's not sure about, sitting or visiting or being overnight directly with people, maybe you're not a people but you still want to be a part of it. There are roles like that.
Oh yeah. There are roles for anybody that wants to be involved in this whatsoever, no matter whether you want to be on the front lines or more in the background. There's things that you can do. We have fundraising. We have community coordination. We have laundry, where we just do some of the laundry. You never really actually interact with anybody there. You just, unless they're there at the laundromat with you doing the laundry. But there's all kinds of different ways. As a matter of fact, we're just launching now what we call the Nest, which is a program designed for about 11 to folks aged 11 to 17. We're like, how can our youth be more a part of this? Because that's something I think we've been lacking over the last 7-8 seasons, is how do we get more of our young people involved? Because when we all age out and die, right, we want to keep this going. So,
well, and I think volunteerism, I've talked a lot about how volunteerism is a natural thing that's been around for a very long time. However, something we even experienced when we were volunteering at the RiverBender is that the youth had no idea what volunteering is. They thought we were paid, and they're like, wait, you do this without getting paid? Yes. I know, right? And I know that sounds weird, but we do it. Like mind blown. And I think it's because volunteering it's a taught. And we live and I think in a culture where there's a lot of provisions that are, government comes in, but yet at the same time, no, like Gordon Moore was started with volunteers, like parks, fountains, all these amazing things. Generally, what is it? St. Joseph Hospital, volunteer of German nuns that came over, I believe, started a hospital. So volunteerism is extremely important, and getting the youth involved, I think, is a good step.
Yeah. You're showing them that this is a critical need and you can make a positive impact. So.
Yeah. And it affects their peers. Over 1,000 students in the Alton School District, I heard, were considered unhoused. Either they're couch surfing, living in cars, living with relatives that aren't really their guardian. They are considered unhoused. So you're taking care of, helping with friends and family.
Yeah, 5% of the students in the Alton School District are in that unhoused sort of category. Yeah, that's when I heard that statistic, it shocked me. Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
And so is the Owls isn't open to all ages.
Oh,
right?
yeah. The Owl's open to all ages, all species, all race, creed, religion, whatever it may be. So we've had dogs to come in, we've had cats come in, not usually with humans,
right?
Not
on their own.
I mean, we would let them in if they were on their own, but
might call like Hope Rescue or St. Louis Rescue for the complete stray animals.
We've had families come in with young children. We've had young children just come in on their own. And those nights, the last season, we had quite a few actually young folks that we utilized our services, and so we work really closely with the local resources. Not just we're like, okay, here's a bed to sleep in, but we want to help them stay connected and do well outside of our doors as well. But yeah,
absolutely, that's amazing. So we wanted to talk a little bit too about. I know we mentioned social media, and I know AI is a huge topic for people. But this is like on my mind because it keeps showing up in my algorithms. Do we feel like I do personally, at least, like there are so many ways that we can utilize those resources for positive, like you mentioned, like people sharing their stories and just having access to people that are influential that can share resources and what they've been through to help others. But I know there are some negative sides of that too, right? So I just kind of wanted to bring that topic up for discussion for you guys. How you feel about it?
We've got some time.
We could do, we've got a 2-part opportunity here for you, Isaac. So
start talking about the influence of social media and AI. I mean, AI, I don't know. I really don't. That's one thing I can't speak to.
And something about AI is, and this is one thing we've talked about our show, is we're not flawless.
No.
Like we air our mistakes. We don't have perfect edits. We actually don't edit. And so that is one way you know that we are real.
Yes.
We're,
This is human-generated content, right?
Yeah, these are my voices. This is my natural stutter. This is how I mispronounce words. I don't think AI could mispronounce words in the great skill that I do. So with that being said, I think there is this, what do they call it? It's a movement of the clean girl movement where everything is just pristine and everything is neutral colors. And there are some youth that I've talked to that feel like that's hard to live up to. That standard
It's an unrealistic expectation,
Yes.
I feel like.
And so embrace like, the weirdo, the Weird Al, kind of me, like I mismatch, my hair's poofy and curly. It's never going to lay right, And I think that there becomes those trends that we try to live up to that we cannot, like, the triad wife or whatever that might be.
Trad.
It's trad.
Trad, not triad.
Traditional.
See, AI couldn't do that.
No, I would never call it trad wife.
Trad, traditional.
Yeah.
Trad, yeah.
Well, I like triad, but I don't know why. But yes, trad. But anyway, not everyone can live up to that. Like, and so there's some people who go the other way and it's like, look at me in my mess. And did I remember that my kid had school day? No, I'm bringing all the things that they need today in the last minute and just dumping it on the floor, even though that mom created an outlandish display. Here's your one little cupcake. Like we all have this variation of what we operate in. And so I think sometimes when we watch these trends, it can be damaging because you're trying to live up to an expectation that you didn't even create for yourself. And then there's also the other side of it where you might learn some ways of just being who you are.
Yeah.
And it's okay, So I think it's how was it Mr. Rogers had a quote about television where he's like, it can be used for good, with great power comes great responsibility. Peter Parker? Was that?
that was his uncle, I think.
Yeah, his uncle said that. Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when it comes to a lot of that stuff, like I see two sides of this, right? So there's this need for community that we talked about. We have this need of connectedness from both parts, from the consumer of those types of content to the makers of that. Like we know obviously when people put stuff online, that's not their real life, right?
It's just a little piece of the puzzle.
It's a little piece. We know they have their problems, they have everything else too. And so they're wanting to connect with people based off their content. And it's that need for connection. And then as those consumers of that content, we're wanting to connect. We're wanting, how can I make my life better? How can I be more like this? But I also think too, is we get into these categories of we try to, I think we don't give, especially our young people, enough credit. Like they know that too. Like we just sort of assume that like they think that's real life, but our young folks are smart. They know that that's not how life
babies
is,
are smart. They can even open things I can't.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like they've lived with.
Yeah.
This is their norm. So they have to very quickly from a young age be able to differentiate.
They're a lot more discerning than we are.
Yes. They can look at something and be like, that's AI.
Yeah.
That's not real life.
Just like that.
Exactly. No, I 100% agree. I think there is so much opportunity. I mean, as much as I find all the negatives in social media, I'm like, there's so much for good. Like you're sharing overnight warming locations are open. If you need help, we are here.
Right.
We're looking for volunteers. It's a great way to connect and build.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you just have to be able to filter out when those things.
I mean, one example too is this last season, right? This last season at the overnight warming locations, we needed bottled water. Okay. We were out of bottled water. I went on my way in and picked up a big case of it too, but we put that call out onto our Facebook. I think we are still good for bottled water this year.
That is so good.
Because of in hours, we had mountains of bottled water.
The response
from our community. So like social media can be a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
For really, really good. But at the same time, we also have that other side of that teeter-totter there where it could also be like one bad thing or one thing that's, man, it could have some really negative impact and kind of take us in the other direction too. So
yeah, when I think in terms of mental health, I've heard some of these stories, and again, you don't know what's real anymore. But they say, well, someone was essentially like addicted to AI. Well, they
had a psychosis break,
right?
Yeah,
right. Well, they were communicating. They felt like someone was listening. it was created by humans, right? So there is a human element behind it. It could have an opportunity to say, hey, are you okay? Here's I'm going to have someone call you right now, or right. I'm going to have a professional person step in. There are elements like that we could introduce into AI, and I think it could be amazing. It could be really effective and helpful to
But on
humans.
the other hand, there's been instances where AI has stroked someone's ego so much that they actually ended up not well.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Because I use Gemini
right there. But.
I use Gemini a lot to do some deep, I was like, Gemini, what's the luteal phase? And what am I going through right now?
Tell me how I should feel.
Yeah. Why do I feel up and down? And so it's interesting because then it goes into information not asked for. You're doing great. I know you, because, it remembers conversations that I might have said to it or things about it or help me write this. So then it remembers what I wrote and then it throws it into.
Because it's learning. It's learning.
It's learning. Right? And it's creepy because I'm like, I didn't ask for that. I don't need a friend. I have friends. I just need information. And so there are times where I literally tell it, that's not what I asked for. Just give me the facts.
Interesting.
Okay, you would like the fact. Because I don't need that personal relationship with a robot or a thinking bot or whatever that is. I have personal relationships. But that kind of creeps me out when it gets... Because then
I think it's cool.
Well, it gives you such good compliments that you're like, oh, okay, you're right. I am smarter than this. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to.
Gives you some confidence.
It gives you, and so
nobody loves me like my co-pilot.
Exactly. Gemini sees me, and
really sees my essence.
Yeah, and I can take on the world now, and I should be. It kind of can cover a line where you start, you could, I'm God now because Gemini says I am better and more powerful than the Lord.
Oh, wow.
And you can start, that's where what do they call it? A break from reality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have a physical break from reality and you start, seeing yourself the way Gemini sees you. See, we all see ourselves kind of through our friends' lens, right?
Sure.
And so
I need better friends.
So if AI is your friends, that could be again a positive or a negative.
It could be. I could see where it could be challenging.
Right. Well, and people have developed a relationship, with some AI technologies that have encouraged them to do harmful things to themselves or others.
That's the dark side.
That's
right. Right.
And that's a slippery slope when it starts talking to you like it's your friend and it knows you and it cares about you and it wants the best for you.
Influencing you in that way.
And it doesn't have the filter that we would have to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't jump off that building. You can't fly. You don't have that superpower. That's not real.
Right. I just think okay, if Isaac taught the AI mental health and wellness techniques, it could respond in those ways.
Oh, my AI does. My AI knows mental health first aid.
You've trained your AI.
I've trained it really, really well.
My AI is going to have me flying off buildings thinking I'm superpower in a minute. No, I'm just kidding.
She's like, that's not what I needed today, AI.
It's not what I needed, AI.
But I just think there could be, we talk about telehealth and, you hear ads for BetterHelp and all these resources. But like you said, if that requires the person to do something, right? Rather than it coming to them. And so I just think that there is an opportunity for some of these companies to really step in
and maybe AI improve. Calls 988.
That's what I was thinking.
Or something like that for that person.
It's like, hey, I'm going to have a professional step on right now because...
And then,
because it sounds like...
You're not well.
This is the situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It could go...
It's wild.
Tool for good.
Really, you think about any sort of new innovative thing always has these double sides to it. I mean, think about opiates. Opiates can do amazing wonders.
Not what that's what they were designed for.
But they can also do great harm. Yeah. Firearms can,
fireworks.
I mean, all these things have this duality to it. And I think that's where the human element needs to come in and say, okay, yes, this thing could be really great, but it could also do great harm. So how do we really,
find a balance?
Yeah, use some wisdom here.
I love that you said the human element, the humanity. Humanity is compassion for others. When you take compassion out of it, when you stop looking at people as the same, like people. We're, and you start looking at people as others or put them in a place where they need to be because they are separate from me. That's when you've lost your humanity. That's when you've lost your compassion. And putting humanity into it is the important thing. Putting humanity in AI, putting compassion in AI, putting it in our TV shows. That's where you change. That's where the changes happen. It's removing. I once had a friend
reminding us all that we are human.
That we are human. I had a friend tell me that, she hates humanity. And I'm like, no, it's the lack of humanity that you hate. It's when we.
Ooh, that's good.
It's when we.
That's a good line.
Steal that.
That's a good line.
It's when we stop. I mean, Rwanda, I understood humanity when I visited Rwanda, and I got to see what happened there in 1994. Now I visited in 2019, which was right before the pandemic. So it was a great experience to have right before we walked into this other way of life that just, I had this moment of understanding the human condition, right? And so when I came back to the United States, I was like, whoa, we are not very human with each other. Wow. It's just this eye-opening thing of how important humanity is. And they have a saying, and I will not pronounce it correctly because I have not heard it in a long time. It starts with a U. It's Ntambwe or something along the lines of that. It is a belief system that we are the heart of humanity. Like the heart is in humanity. And so that is something to always remember. I don't know. Yeah. I like that you said the human element because that really puts it to a point.
Yeah.
And on that point, we have to take a break.
We do, and we will be right back to discuss more mental health topics.
Yes, we'll see you momentarily.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
At Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu, we help students of all ages build confidence, discipline, and real-world strength. Join a supportive community that challenges you to grow both on and off the mat. Experience the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a 7-day free trial at our new location. Call 618-795-2692 or visit altonelite.com to start your journey today. Train hard, serve others, live elite at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. When you need a project done right, on budget, and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started.
And we're back. You're listening to According to
Jama
and Nikki. And we're with Isaac, and we're talking about mental health, well-being, and mental health first aid.
And the time is flying, so we're going to encourage Isaac to stay for a part 2
that you'll get to hear
next week.
Next week.
Okay.
Yeah, we could. I don't even know what the date is next week.
I
don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
I am in today.
I'm excited. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We got him. He's locked in.
He's locked in.
This is a good conversation. Let's just keep going.
So we were talking about the owls, and did you have a question, or are you waiting for part 2?
Oh no, we can.
Okay.
So something that has been coming up in some of my conversations with people in regards to like their workforce, and I know you guys offer training for workforces, which I think is amazing, is that people are, besides mental health days, now we get, days off that we can take for whatever we need them for, which I think is extremely crucial.
Australia is doing women's cycle days. And so to make it fair,
What?
yes, they're letting people have 3 days off a month, no questions asked.
Love it.
Australia has always come up with really cool stuff.
I know. They
So-
do.
It was the first place I ever wanted to visit when I was in middle school because of,
Well, and if you watch Bluey, then you're in.
Right?
Steve Irwin.
That's
Steve
right.
Irwin.
Steve Irwin. Okay.
I'm
okay.
older. I didn't know. I still don't know
Crocodile
Bluey.
Dundee.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bluey's on repeat in my house. So
Yes.
it's,
Yeah.
Ours too.
Um,
Ours too. But so I find that fascinating that I feel like so many more companies are taking on
Mental
those
health.
opportunities.
Well,
yes,
before
and
you lose your
recognizing-
job.
Right. And even if you were, physically ill and now recognizing that mental health is so much more critical because if you have well employees, then your company can do
More things.
well.
Yeah.
But I had been talking to some friends and family about people within their, who they work with, right? So not even necessarily in their department, but that their coworkers that were taking short-term disability for mental wellness and long-term disability in some cases.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's stemming from, their own individual situations, but situations with, people that they're caring for. And I thought that was like eye-opening to me because I had never really heard that before, that was an option to take time because you need it. And I don't know, I just wanted to kind of gauge your guys' feedback on that. Have you ever heard of this? Have you,
Well, I think
you don't have to tell me if you participated in it, but
Well, I know the state of Illinois, I thought, passed a law where you're required so many a year now. And I don't
to
know.
offer?
Mhm.
Oh,
But I don't know
interesting.
exactly that. So
Right.
fact checkers, people who like to deep dive rabbit hole, people look into that and let me know what you found because I think that there's 3 a year or 5 a year. What I also like is that I think we talked a little bit about, mental health in the younger generations is more talked about. Well, the workplace is accepting it. The workplace is saying, yes, we will support you. And I think that also changes the conversation because before you didn't talk about it because you didn't want to lose your job. I worked at a place where if you struggled with addiction and you told them prior to hey, I'm struggling, they will get you help and you didn't lose your job. I believe, what is the chef who cusses a lot?
Gordon Ramsay?
Yes. He has a policy in his
organization,
his restaurants that if someone is struggling, get help. You will not be judged. You will be helped because he lost someone to drug addiction. So
And that
he's
is
made sure, and he says
an issue
that,
within restaurants.
Well, then
for
that's
sure.
the thing.
It's high
Restaurants,
stress.
high stress, and they,
Gordon Ramsay's your boss, yeah.
yeah, right. Yell at me like that with those
Which
languages.
it
I'd be
seems
like
such a
frozen.
paradox that
Right.
he's so intense sometimes, but then he's completely
yeah.
understanding
Right.
that
Yeah, and so
he's I probably caused your
Yeah.
mental unwellness.
I have a part to play here.
Right.
Well, and in one of my, I call my jobs my previous lives, but in one of my previous lives, one of my jobs, one of the coworkers, on his off time, assaulted someone, had a break. Well, then I did your training, and part of the training is if you had mentioned something about someone being really jumpy, it can sometimes be a sign of a mental health stressor, like
Sign or
anxiety,
symptom, right.
sign or symptom. And looking back at that person, they were constantly jumpy. If I would say their name, they would jump. Or if I walked behind them, they would jump. Very, not your normal caught me off guard jump, just jump all the time to little things. The phone would ring. It's a little bit of a jump before you answer it. And then they did that. And so it's okay, I can see how there were things. And I didn't know at the time to even see, but there were some symptoms that probably signs or symptoms that led into that moment. And it was not well. So I think that that's important. If you're jumpy that day, what's going on? How do you feel? Sometimes you can be a little anxious. I know I get a little anxious and then I'm I should probably breathe. Box breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. It does help.
It does.
And again, that's part of that, checking in with yourself as well. I think I would just love to see, I know we have telehealth options and things like that, but I would love to see more of our HR departments embracing
mental health.
Right. When taking training, recognizing when this is a need for people, maybe creating a safe space. I know some offices have like nap rooms or quiet rooms,
quiet
or
rooms.
nursing rooms.
I was thinking about quiet rooms.
Having opportunities,
especially
for
in
people
customer service.
Ooh,
After
yes.
some customers, you just need a quiet room.
A quiet room, or maybe like a room to break things.
And speaking of a quiet room, we are going to go to our quiet rooms and take a break until next time, because it is 11 o'clock.
It is.
Oh.
It is time to end the show. You've been listening to
According to
Jama and Nikki.
I forgot my name, guys.
And we're with Isaac